Dear brothers and sisters, dear friends, today we explore together the great plan of redemption that God has prepared for humanity. This is not only the redemption of the soul, but also the upgrading of civilization and the arrival of well-being. God's grace has never been absent. As early as the beginning of creation, He planted the seeds of civilizational progress, bestowing wisdom and mission upon humanity. And at the core of all this, it is all hidden within faith and love, hidden within the God-given identity bestowed upon each and every one of us. The work of the Holy Spirit, Christianity as the living source of technological civilization. Perhaps many brothers and sisters have never reflected deeply on this. Why has the rapid development of modern science and technology always been closely intertwined with the Christian faith? The answer is very simple. Christianity is the cradle of science and technology, and the work of the Holy Spirit is precisely the invisible driving force behind technological progress. God has granted humanity rational thinking, enabling us to explore the mysteries of the universe He created. The Holy Spirit continually opens the minds of believers, guiding us, under the premise of reverence for God, to transform the world with wisdom and bring benefit to humanity. The work of the Holy Spirit follows a remarkable principle. To the extent that devout Christians sincerely seek the guidance of the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit opens up an equal measure of corresponding spiritual service. To the extent that Christians are willing to submit to the Spirit's guidance, actively allowing the Holy Spirit to work in their lives and vocations, they will receive a corresponding measure of support and love from their brothers and sisters. This love that springs from faith is not a narrow, self-centered love, but a great love capable of illuminating all humanity. It enables us to step beyond our own small circles, to think about how, through society and the market, God's grace can be passed on to every person. The practice of this love is manifested precisely in technological breakthroughs. The Holy Spirit guides us to combine optimal technologies to reduce costs across all stages of production and daily life, allowing mechanization, electrification, automation, and informatization to enter reality step by step, and ultimately ushering in the age of intelligence. Look at those nations where Christianity stands as the core faith. Innovation spreads like mercury flowing freely, penetrating everywhere. From the steam engine of the Industrial Revolution to today's internet and artificial intelligence, behind every technological leap, there is always the rationality and mission endowed by faith. By contrast, those nations that have drifted away from the Christian faith often fall into a predicament of weak innovation because they have lost this wisdom that originates from the Holy Spirit. Even more remarkably, the software and AI that we now take for granted are, in essence, manifestations of the work of the Holy Spirit. The rule of software is, for as many users as there are, so many are served, and the rule of AI is, for as many people as use it, so many are served. This is strikingly consistent with the Spirit's principle of supplying according to need and benefiting all. God has long used these technological creations to show us His power and grace, but many times we lack the eyes to perceive it. The awakening of the church today, recognizing the God-given identity. Regrettably, many Christian churches today are still in a state of slumber. We have not clearly seen the deep connection between Christianity and technology. We have not realized that software and AI are the results of the Holy Spirit's work. And even more so, we have not recognized the first identity God has given to humanity, the consumer. This identity appears ordinary, yet it holds the three core elements of the age of intelligence and possesses tremendous power to change the world. First, the computers and smartphones in our hands are not merely tools for entertainment, but the hosts of software and the internet. Without these terminals, all digital technologies would be castles in the air. Second, our leisure time is not meaningless waste, but the creator of an ocean of knowledge, and even the tutor of AI. Every click, every comment, and every share provides data and wisdom for the evolution of AI. Third, our consumption behavior is not simply spending money, But the oxygen of the market without consumption, enterprises cannot survive. The market will stagnate, and the power of consumption in our hands is in fact the decisive power that determines the direction of the market. This is the God-given authority bestowed upon us. Yet for far too long we have failed to exercise this authority, and for far too long we have failed to think from the identity God has given us, so that we struggle in a world filled with hatred and conflict, wandering amid anxiety and confusion. Look at this world entangled by hatred. People use formulas to calculate the destructive power of energy, E equals mc. Yet they forget that God has long planted a more beautiful law in the world of love. In the world of love, mass, MEA, multiplied by traceability, C, can allow energy E to transcend the constraints of the speed of light, bringing forth an unceasing flow of blessings. In the internet world, information ML traceability, CE, can enable information EA to break through barriers, achieving universal sharing. This is the wisdom of God, using love and connection to replace hatred and opposition. What the church needs most today is awakening. We need to break free from traditional patterns of thinking, no longer confining ourselves to gatherings and prayers within church walls, but instead carrying faith into society, making use of the God-given identity bestowed upon us, and practicing the law of God. We must understand that to glorify God is not only worship of the heart, but also requires action that makes the world more beautiful, so that more people may experience God's love and grace. The path of redemption, from the union of consumers to the arrival of grace in the public market. God's plan of redemption has never been vague or illusory. It has a clear and walkable path, and its core is to begin from the consumer identity God has given us, to unite together and jointly build. The God-given identity, consumer-owned, universal application public market. This is not a human invention, but an inevitable expression of the law of God and the necessary path by which the Holy Spirit leads humanity toward peace and joy. This public market has two irreplaceable characteristics. It is the world's only buyer, and all producers must enter proactively because no enterprise can refuse the united demand of global consumers. It is also the world's only seller, and everyone must revere the law of God that it embodies, for it conveys the principles of love and sharing. More importantly, the future profits locked in by this public market are infinite. They are equal to the total future global consumption, multiplied by a fixed proportion of distribution commission. This infinite profit is sufficient to mobilize the world's top intellectual resources to build an intelligent, consumer-owned system belonging to all humanity, allowing us to realize the grace of 8/2 sharing. 80% of the profits belong to all consumers. 20% are returned to traditional producers, so that everyone may share in God's blessings. Starting from the identity God has given us, we will discover that investment is no longer risk, but a benefit that everyone can enjoy. For the lifespan of this public market is as enduring as God's creation itself. Its profits originate from endless future consumption and will never be exhausted. When this benefit is shared by all, dividends will gradually replace wages. As the primary source of household income, we will no longer need to struggle desperately for livelihood, nor be anxious about unemployment, and will naturally enter into a life of peace and joy. This is God's redemption for humanity, to release us from the chains of mere survival, so that we may have more time to worship God and enjoy life. The manifestation of grace, peace, and joy brought by sharing. God's grace has always been concrete and real. It has already been quietly unfolding in our lives, and will be fully manifested in the future. First, free sharing has already become a reality. Our leisure time is creating an endless ocean of knowledge. From content on social media to various free learning resources, all of which are created by believers and non-believers alike, under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. As the fruits of love and sharing, Second, equity sharing will inevitably arrive. When we unite to build the public market, our leisure time will further create an ocean of technology. The world's optimal technologies will be integrated, production will be localized, every region will be able to enjoy the benefits of top-tier technology, every enterprise will receive intellectual support, and every individual will have access to high-quality services brought by AI. This is the inertia God has given to humanity. We are born with a love for creating value, and this kind of creation will gradually replace creation based solely on labor. When leisure time liberates full-time labor, we will no longer be bound by heavy work, and the entire world will be filled with peace and joy. Please remember, a happy and joyful human life is not for the glory of any person, but for the glory of God. This is God's expectation for us, and it is also our mission as children of God. More importantly, this grace will benefit the church and every individual. From the infinite profits of the public market, we will dedicate 1/10 to the Christian church, allowing the church to have more sufficient resources to spread the gospel and help the vulnerable, and those churches that deviate from God's law and pursue only private interests will naturally fade away as they lose unjust sources of income. This is not a human-driven elimination, but the just judgment of God's law, allowing true faith to be purified. This grace will also empower all industries. When consumer ownership spreads to the apparel industry, the future profits locked in by apparel groups become infinite. 80% go to consumers, 20% are shared with traditional shareholders, and everyone can obtain surplus from infinite profits. When consumer ownership enters the field of education, the infinite profits of education platforms will allow high-quality educational resources to benefit everyone, completely breaking down educational barriers. And so on, all industries will receive infinite empowerment under God's grace, achieving the reduction of debt and welcoming new life. This is a prelude to the law of God, allowing love and sharing to replace greed and competition, receiving grace, trusting, and obeying, victorious all the way. Dear brothers and sisters, dear friends, God's plan of redemption is already set before us. Grace is right before our eyes, waiting for us to receive it willingly. This grace does not require us to pay a costly price. It requires only one thing from us: to believe in God, and to think and act according to the will of God. To think according to God's will is to recognize our God-given identity and to understand the power of consumers united together. To act according to God's will is to practice the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself, to participate in the building of the public market, and to realize equity sharing and a shared destiny. When we do this, we will discover that all problems are merely mathematical problems. As long as information is symmetric, all conflict, poverty, and anxiety will be resolved with ease. Trust in God, and we will be victorious all the way. This road will surely lead to happiness and abundance, for it is the path of redemption personally laid out by God. The lifespan of the public market is enduring and everlasting, and the grace it carries will be passed down through generations. Everything we do is done to glorify God and to make this world more aligned with His will. Let us together raise the banner of faith, guided by the Holy Spirit, with reverence for God and love, and willingly receive this grace. Let us use the principle of sharing to break down the barriers of hatred, use the power of faith to propel technological progress, and manifest God's power through actions of love. One day, the whole world will be filled with peace and joy, and every person will be able to live a happy life within God's grace. This is God's plan of redemption, and this is our mission and glory as believers.